What's going on, guys? So I've been busy working on my camper here, trying to do a temporary off-grid setup. So not usually something I'm getting into, but we have this land and we're trying to build a house, and we just need to kind of get established in this RV there so we can start working on it and make that stuff happen. So there's been quite a bit of stuff I've been doing to this thing, but the main thing I want to talk about today is our solar setup, because it's kind of one of the more like technical and kind of interesting parts. So I want to get out here and show you. I am kind of dodging some thunderstorms that's been hitting and missing today. So let's see if we can't sneak out here and I'll show you my setup that I think is about as budget friendly and simple, and something that you could put together yourself if you were wanting to do something like this. Okay, so one of the first most obvious things out here is all of the solar panels. So I have like a ground mount solar panel set up because I know where, at least where we're starting out to put the RV, it's gonna be parked like directly in the shade. We'll come back to these and I'll explain a little more about them, because they don't really do any good unless you have a whole basically infrastructure set up to actually do something with the power that these can make. So let's come over here to the basement area. And this is the heart of the system here. First thing you're gonna notice is we have two pretty large batteries. Those are 280 amp hour batteries. I have two of them and they're connected in parallel. So basically what that means is one's directly connected to the next one. So it's still 12 volts, but it's basically like double the capacity. So just to keep things simple, because a lot of our RV stuff runs off 12 volts, like our lights, actually I'm pretty sure all of our lights run off 12 volt. Things like the radio and some vent fans, and I'm sure there's a handful of other things. The camper actually has a pretty robust like 12 volt system. So that basically just replaces our battery that used to be on the tongue out here. I have the box there, but there's nothing in it. And basically that's all just moved into here at this point. These are what you call Life P04 batteries. I just call them Life Pos. That's probably not the correct way to say it, but these are a little temperamental. If they get cold, they won't charge and whatnot correctly, like below freezing cold. So just keeping them in here, this area is like heated and away from the elements, and it's honestly just, it's better off having them in here. So we have our large battery bank, and then we come over to our inverter and our charger setup. So I have a decently large inverter, considering we're running off 12 volts. So we have a 3000 watt inverter. It is the sine wave, so like your laptops and like sensitive type stuff, it's supposed to be a little bit more friendly, a lot more similar to just your normal like grid, you know, what's coming in your house kind of power. So this was actually one of the most affordable ones that I could find that would give me almost enough power to pretty much run the camper as if it was plugged in. And then, so that lets me run all of the 120 volt stuff. So like the microwave, the air conditioner, it is big enough, it can run the air conditioner. That's the whole point of the system. The TV and all of the other things, like if we plug in a toaster, little ice machine, all that good stuff. Okay, so that's one component, two component, and then now we got our third component. This is like dead simple as you can get. I am new to this stuff, but I did a ton of research and I set this up as simply and budget friendly as possible. So the only major component we have left is our solar charge controller, and that's what takes the power from our solar panels and actually does something useful with it. So right now we're not actually doing anything. One, it's literally like thunderstorms outside right now. But two, our batteries are fully charged, and these batteries, as they near full charge, they actually accept less of a charge. So until we drop that power down, we won't actually see any power coming in. So I'm like slowly getting dripped on right now. I'm like right underneath the gutter for this corner of the camper right here. So the batteries look a little busy at first. I don't have any bus bars or anything. This is just a dead simple, if I didn't need it, I didn't get it type of situation. So batteries are connected to each other. We do have like a major fuse just in case the inverter basically takes crap. And we have our power coming from our charge controller, which is also fused. And then we have some 12-volt stuff. I have a power outlet that goes this way, and I have a little outlet outside just in case we need to use like this little septic pump thing. And then we have some more 12-volt stuff that goes that way, also with a fuse that hooks up to another power outlet, some USBs for a little refrigerator over there. And that is our little Iceco refrigerator, which also happens to be today's sponsor. So this is our little APL20 fridge, and this one is special because this is a new one to Iceco's lineup. They did have the APL20, but this is the first time you can get it in this all black color, which I personally really like this black one, and versus the shiny aluminum silver that the sun might reflect off of, but you do you. So this is really cool for this setup for a lot of reasons. This is going to live right here. It fits in here pretty well. And this is going to be like our deep freezer, basically. This can be a refrigerator or a freezer. We're going to use it most likely as a freezer because we have a refrigerator in the camper with the really small freezer. I think another thunderstorm's rolling in. So this works out really well because you can run it off 120 volt with an adapter if you want to, but this is something that you can put like in your car or the back of your truck or something. And I'm running it off the like 12 volt cigarette lighter setup, so I set that up. That's off the batteries, and this can just run off of 12 volts all the time, because with my setup the 120 volt power might come and go, especially if it's on the inverter versus the generator. So that's a little bit more complicated to route that kind of power in here, but the 12 volt power is always going to be here to stay, and it's always going to be on. Another feature about this that's actually going to be really cool for our like power conservation kind of off-grid setup is this guy is super efficient. It's really quiet because our bed is right above here, so that's important. I've watched the power that it draws, which I'll show you how we monitor all this, but this thing really doesn't use a lot of power. So unfortunately, the control panel, the way that I have it in here, is actually on the wrong side. So as far as manually controlling it, it's a little difficult to get to unless I feel like crawling through here or pulling the fridge out. But what's really cool about it is I can come in here where there's not a thunderstorm starting to roll in and connect to it from inside the camper because it's Bluetooth. So just like any other good modern thing nowadays, it has Bluetooth, so you can do it from your phone. And that lets me come in here and see what the current temperature is. I can change the settings on it. I can turn the whole thing on and off. I can turn that energy mode on. And yeah, I can keep an eye on what's going on there, all from the convenience of my cell phone. So if any of that sounds interesting to you and you want to check these out, you can jump over to Iceco's website and you can use my code TDOG at checkout, and I'll actually save you 12% on that. And I'll have some like Amazon affiliate links for it too if you want to go that route. But yeah, help support the channel, check these out, and let's get on with this before I get absolutely downpoured on. Okay, so we're back up here at our like main power center. So we have a couple ways to put power back into these batteries. So we have the solar charge controller. That's actually a 40 amp, so it can do up to 40 amps of solar conversion into battery power. And then that goes down through here. All of our wiring goes through a little rubber like pass-through grommet thing. And so that comes down and feeds out and goes out to our solar panels. So this brings us to our array. It looks a lot more serious now that I made little stands for them. But these are super budget friendly. They're actually bifacial solar panels. I have 2 stands and they're put in series. So basically these 2 are connected and those 2 are connected to each other, so the voltage doubles. Goes through some super affordable indoor-outdoor wire. It's actually copper clad, so give me your gripes there. And that was really affordable because we have to do quite the length with it. So this is 10 gauge, which is like 12 gauge equivalent of copper, and then comes in to that system that's in there. So I have up to, I think it's about 75 feet to get to this first panel, and then that's all like teed together there, and then another like 20 feet for this panel. They're most likely going to be right next to each other like this, but I'd rather have it too long and shorten it later than not have enough. And so this is a grand total of about 800 watts technically if you go by the ratings. That's 195, 195, and then 195, 195. So basically 2, 4, 6, 8. Panels rarely put out what they're actually rated at, but I've seen these put almost, I basically have seen them almost max out that 40 amp controller, which is about on point of where they should be. So we actually have one more way to put power back into the batteries that we have to go back inside for. So every camper has one of these like fuse box charge controller things built in. So you have like your breaker stuff and your fuses up here. This is all your 12 volt stuff, 120 volt stuff, and what you can't quite see is there's a charger built into here. So yeah, most campers have this built in, and this was like a big deciding factor of keeping this budget friendly, super simple setup. Budget friendly and super simple. So this is like a standard 55 amp charger. So when we're plugged in, we can plug into a generator or 120 volt. Right now we're plugged in on the 20 amp garage outlet. We can power everything in here like normal, and then this will also charge our batteries. So that way there's no like downtime in between. You can just plug this in if you're going to use something that uses a lot of power, or if you're just down on battery power, you can just run like you would at any other normal time, but also be charging your batteries. And yes, you can double charge. So I can be plugged in with that pumping out maybe 20 amps or so, and our solar panels also putting out like anywhere from 20 to 40 amps or something. So that way we can, if the sun's out and we're plugged into the generator, we can actually get a decent amount of juice going back into those batteries. So guess what? It's raining again. So this is good timing, because that's enough kind of talking about putting power into the batteries and what the battery power is. Okay, so now that we're all hooked up outside to ourselves, basically, before we turn the inverter on, we have to come down here to the control box, and we need to turn the converter off. So third breaker up from the bottom, because the converter is that charger we were talking about, and obviously you don't want to use your batteries to power the inverter and then hit a charger that tries to charge the batteries, and that infinite loop thing sounds cool, but it doesn't work like that. And then we can come and turn our inverter on. And then you can hear the microwave and a little ice cube maker. All the 120 volt stuff's firing up basically. So this has a little battery level on it. That load meter I was talking about shows us the volts of our batteries, and then also the volts, the 120 volt stuff coming in, and then obviously if there's any kind of issues going on, it has a little error screen right there. So unless there's a major draw, you're not really going to see it on here. This is just kind of a basic kind of crude thing, but obviously we are using some power. Even my little YouTube space that I'm working on over there, all my chargers just kicked back on. And but we do have a way to monitor without having to buy a battery monitoring system and set all that up. So let me show you. So we come back to our trusty cell phone here. They have a Bluetooth like BMS built into them. And so now we can come on here and we can see the power that we have. Obviously we just started, we're at 100, we have our voltage, and we have 0 amps moving in either direction. So this will tell you down right here if it's actually charging or if it's discharging. So if you have power coming in or out. Now that 0 might seem confusing, but let's look at the other battery first. Okay, so pretty much the same on this battery. There's a couple other things we can see are like individual cells, what's going on with those. But basically, if we have 0 coming in or going out, that means we're about breaking even on solar panels, solar power versus power in here, which the main draw right now is probably the Starlink internet that we have set up. So I've found out that the solar stuff actually makes a surprising amount of power even on like cloudy, overcast, and straight up thunderstormy days like this. They will put out almost half of what they can on a sunny day. It's actually kind of cool. So let's get some things fired up and see how this actually performs. So for right now, the only thing that's really running is some lights in here and the Starlink, which the lights are on the 12-volt system, and then the Starlink is going through the inverter to get the 120-volt power, plus like the microwave and a few things that's on standby. We got a vacuum cleaner that's charging over there, plus a couple of my like GoPro batteries. So nothing too significant, but we're bringing in enough power even on this kind of weather that we're not really using anything. So let's get some major appliances going. It's a little stuffy in here. Let's get the AC going. So looks like we're at 76 right now. We're gonna just go ahead and just turn this on cool low, and we'll get to watch this kind of fire up. And I heard a beep for just a second. Sometimes it gets a little angry for just a second, because air conditioners are like, if you've looked into this kind of stuff, air conditioners are like the #1 like power draw. They use a decent amount of power, probably the most power hungry thing, honestly, but they use a lot of power on that like initial kickstart to get going. So you can get a soft start for them, but I made sure I sized the inverter and stuff big enough that it can handle that load, even if it does kind of yell at me for a second. So now let's look at our load. So now we are definitely chugging away some power. We have about 50 amps coming out of this battery, which means we probably have somewhere in that ballpark coming out of the other battery. The only downside with this is you kind of have to do math a little bit. So like the amps you see coming out, you have to double. The thing that is accurate is the time remaining, because this is divided between the two batteries. So we can do this for about 5 hours-ish until we're totally dead. We just dropped down to 99%, so we're definitely using some power. We do have enough. I can also come over here and use some more. Let's just put the microwave on. And you can see we are getting close to the max of what we can do. And then here's a look of the amperage going out on that. Okay, microwave just shut off. So yeah, this was really simple. I can Bluetooth to anywhere in the camper. These batteries actually have amazing Bluetooth range. Like, I'm talking in my house through a brick wall, I can somehow still connect to these. It's literally insane. Okay, so I turned off the air conditioner, but I went and I turned like a few more lights on and like the fan that's in the bathroom to get a little bit more of like a moderate draw. So that takes us down to somewhere around 3 amps per battery. Looks like we can do this for like 100 hours, give or take a little bit. So as long as you're not chugging away on a big appliance, mainly just the air conditioning, you can definitely handle running the air conditioner and doing the microwave. Or like if we have our air fryer, probably have to turn the air conditioner off for a minute. I wanted to be able to do like 2 large appliances at once, because pretty much anytime I cook breakfast, I have a microwave or the air fryer or a toaster, it all kind of going at once. So okay, the rain calmed down a little bit, so I jumped out here so you can see what's going on the charge controller. So it looks like we're bringing in almost 9 amps, which I'm gonna say is pretty good considering the weather right now. And that might even go up as these batteries drop, because they can only take so much as they get to that like really fully absorbed level. Also, all of our wiring for all of this is all as neatly organized as I could get it figured out. It all comes over and drops out through this little pass-through. The 120 volt comes through this little skirting. This is all hollow behind here. and I got this little 30 amp box. I was actually pretty happy about that because most of them are like these huge steel ones. That one was perfect for just having it sticking on the outside like that. And that is hardwired into the actual inverter. So instead of just having it like in one of these outlets, so that way I know I could draw like to the max capacity of it without having some kind of sketchy low gauge plug in between. So this setup can run everything in the camper almost to its full potential, because the camper is only like a 30 amp rated breaker panel box, like pretty much most campers, but we only have so much battery power, and more importantly we only have so much solar. So even though it seems like a lot with all those panels, 800 watts is not really like live off of power. This is more of a generator supplemental, like a generator system with a solar backup, put it that way, not a solar system with a generator backup. On calm days like today where it's kind of cool and raining and I really don't need to run the AC much, I can probably coast through the day and not use too much power. But if I am cooking, I should probably just swap to the generator for that. Or if it's an air conditioning day, I need to swap to the generator pretty much until the point I'm not running the air conditioning anymore. So basically the early part of the day to the late point of the day, switch over to battery power. I can shut the generator off so that way it doesn't have to run all night and make all that noise and also use a bunch of gas. So I think this is a pretty decent system overall. This is just bare bones what I came up with to basically get us to not have to live off the generator all the time. I would like to do more, and as what I've learned from this, I've kind of been cooking up like a stage like 2.0 of solar power with more battery capacity, probably doing a 48 volt conversion and more panels and all that stuff later on once we get like established at this land and stuff that we're going to. But for starters and for simplicity and budget sake, I think this is a pretty good setup, and I think most people this would be enough power to do what you got to do, especially if you're just doing like a 2 maybe 3 day camping weekend and you just need to get through. Put those panels up on the roof instead of on those big clunky stands, and this would get you through a weekend as long as you're not chugging away at the AC like crazy. I thought about getting one of those portable power stations. That was actually like one of the first things I was looking into when I thought about all of this. But for the price, like they're convenient because it's just one thing and you can plug into it and you can plug solar panels into them, but the price is nowhere near of what something this straightforward and simple is. So yeah, definitely quite a bit that's went into this. It's pretty cool though, because I can sit in here in the rain and not be connected to power at all. And I have lights. I got my smart TV on with all of our favorite YouTube channel. And it's all powered by the Starlink internet, which is something that's also kind of new to me. You can see I got the little dish sitting over there and our solar panels. It's actually kind of a neat thing. There's a lot more to this whole off-grid thing other than just power generation. That is important, and internet is, for me, definitely really important. But I mainly just want to talk about that electric part. I also found out that there's a promo code or a referral code for the Starlink. If that's something that you're maybe interested in or have been thinking about, I'll have a referral code down below where you can click that, and if you actually go and sign up and actually use the service, you should get a month off for free, and then that also doubles back to me, so we can help me to help you. If you're interested, not sponsored by them at all, but even in these rainstorms, the Starlink's been kind of cool. It's actually been working really good, so hopefully we'll see how well it works with all the trees we have on our new property. So with all that being said, if you do want to support the channel, check out those links down below, any of them, watch more videos, or just hit the like button. It all helps. There's even the Starlink one in this one, so if that actually works out. And yeah, that's all I got, guys. So thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in the next one.